That's what I believe got him reelected, is the people knew that you could believe what he said. Well, it never.
Our country is strong. How many people aren't? I don't know. We go forward to defend freedom. All that is good and just in our world.
We have faith in our leaders. We're optimistic as to what becomes of it all. It really boils down to our ability to accept.
If you want a vision of the future, Winston, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever.
Dr. Paul, the economic situation seems to be deteriorating rather rapidly. Peter Schiff, Gerald Celente, Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, they're all predicting pretty dire circumstances. And a lot of us had the feeling that this is why you've even accelerated the campaign for liberty, is to try and get us ahead of that wave. What advice can you give to the public? Can you give to the campaign for liberty? Anybody that supports freedom right now, what should we be doing? If you could give exact instructions.
Well, I guess there's two areas. What you do as individuals to try to protect yourself. That's one thing. And then the other thing is political activity. And I do both. I mean, over the years, I've been protecting against this crisis that's coming because I started buying gold coins when gold was $35 an ounce. So I've assumed that this time would come, and I think it's here. You know, it's slow in coming. Matter of fact, I thought we'd have a bigger crisis sooner. So there's a lot of things you can do individually, and being self-reliant and taking care of friends, savings, having a job, and all these things we do to survive in bad times. But the ultimate survival is protecting our liberties, which means you need to understand our history, you need to understand economic policy, you need to study Austrian economics, you need to know why we don't need a Federal Reserve. And then when you fully understand that and can explain it, then you should get involved in politics. Because as dirty as it seems sometimes in politics, it's the only vehicle we have here that is shy of violence. And I reject the violent approach. Hopefully we don't get to that stage. But in the meantime, we have to use what we have available. And we have more available now than ever before. We have more outlets through our own media, you know, the internet and radio talk shows and things like that. So the information is getting out much faster than it used to. So I think disseminating information and getting politically active and putting pressure, if we can't throw all the bums out overnight, put a lot of pressure, because they're politicians, they like to stay in office. If there's enough of us complaining about what we have, they can change their ways.
I'm glad you touched on violence, because a lot of us in the alternative media, in the patriot movement, you know, we keep track of what's going on the internet, and it really worries a lot of us because I see so much violent rhetoric coming to the surface now. We've seen the riots in Greece. We're seeing so many of the military projections about how there's going to be violence. You know, what is your advice of how we try and stay ahead of that? How do we convert the people that just instantly want to go burn things down, instead of understanding that it's only through peaceful revolution that we can overcome the situation?
Only by talking the way you're talking and saying that there are alternatives. You can do it through peaceful means, and we've had experience. You know, there were some things that Martin Luther King did, and he brought about some good things, and he did not believe in violence, but he practiced civil disobedience, and he had to even serve time in prison. And the same way with Gandhi, he was able to bring about changes. But then there are times in society and throughout history where the violence gets out of control, and of course that's what we're all trying to prevent. But once again, I think the answer is the same: education, political activities, and yet I think ultimately the founders understood this quite clearly. That's why they gave us the Second Amendment. I think the ultimate protection is that you need to protect against violence and take care of yourselves and family. I don't think that we're on the verge of that, but just as these markets collapse rather quickly, if we have a dollar collapse is even more serious than a financial market collapse. And if the dollar collapses and there's runaway inflation, that's when those individuals who have been taught for so long that they are owed a living and the government owes them everything, which means that the government has to take it from somebody else, then it could become more violent. So planning to protect your home and is a legitimate patriotic function that we all should be thinking of.
Well, Dr. Paul, I appreciate it a lot. I know you have to get running.